Hello, everybody, and welcome to Adhlal's virtual community event. What are NFTs and why should designers pay attention? We have a plethora of amazing and talented panelists today. I'm going to let everybody go around and say their name and their job or their title. And if you want to learn more about them and their bios and the links to their social media, you can click on their name and it's all there ready for you. So you guys can go ahead and introduce yourselves to everybody.
Okay, I'll start. Hello, everyone. I'm so happy to be here with this important discussion about NFTs and design. I'm Narmeen Hamadeh. I'm Palestinian, born and raised in Saudi Arabia. I'm an interior architect by education and by profession. And recently, since like 3-4 years ago, I turned into a digital illustrator. So now I'm a bit of a designer and an artist. And the NFT word for me is extremely interesting, and it's gonna give me a lot of opportunities. And I'm hoping to learn a lot from everyone here too today.
Great. I'll go next. My name is Ahmed, and I'm a research fellow at Cambridge University, where I work on AI applications of education, but outside of academia. I work with a lot of fashion brands and fashion companies, including like Farfetch, Burberry, etc., and work with governmental organizations to help figure out how we can use tech to help the fashion ecosystem all the way from creators and brands to the manufacturers and suppliers.
Okay, I guess I can be next. My name is Arthur Weber. I'm a multidisciplinary artist and graphic designer. Originally born in Estonia, then lived in Australia and worked in design and advertising, and moved to Saudi, and now currently based in Riyadh, and basically shifting into an art scene.
I might go next. My name's Nick Abrahams. I'm the global leader of the digital transformation practice at Norton Rose Fulbright. And so we're a global law firm and consultancy. And I'm also an entrepreneur. I co-founded a online legal business called LawPath in Australia, which has become quite successful. And a lot of what I do in my practice is helping large organizations understand the opportunities and embrace the opportunities of Web3. And so that's particularly working with people around what's happening with NFTs, tokenization, and the move to the metaverse and crypto.
Hello, everyone. My name is Raif Bukhari. I'm currently the manager at Desert Designs. Desert Designs is an antique store, but we're also an art gallery as well. And I worked in Aramco as an engineer for 4 years. I quit from there and started pursuing music full-time. So then I spent around 2 years as a full-time musician, touring with the Ministry of Culture in New York, London, and Paris. On the Saudi Cultural Days with 2 bands. One was called Mizan and the other one was called Min al-Riyadh. So music is definitely my passion. And when I'm not doing music and Desert Designs, I'm 24/7 researching crypto and blockchain and the technology behind it because I find it super interesting.
Okay, now I think it's Shamsi turn.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for setting this up. My name is Mohammed Shamsi. Thank you, Brandie, for the invitation. For anybody who doesn't know who I am one part of Past the Kabsa, Saudi podcast that talks about the local cultural and creative scene in Saudi Arabia. I also have a background as a former advertiser and marketeer, working currently in branding. And one of my many side interests includes, the entire crypto scene, and the new innovations that are happening. Obviously, NFT is one of those innovations, and I think it's a very exciting thing to be associated with, and I'm happy to participate.
Thank you, everybody, so much. Well, my name is Brandie. I work with Adhlal. I'm working in the design industry. Thank you all so much for coming and being part of this. So today we are having a discussion. It's an open discussion. I want everybody to feel comfortable and to have their input and to have fun. And we'll go through the key points, and I'm just going to moderate. I'm not going to talk about it a lot because I feel like we have a wealth of knowledge here that can do that for us already. So just to let everybody know, today we're talking about where designers have previously struggled to regulate the authenticity of their work. Preventing duplications of digital art has been hard to stop. NFTs confirm ownership, add value to the original design, whether it's imagery, games, or wearables. As we know, NFTs are a very hot topic, and it's very popular right now for designers and artists. It's something new here in the Khalij, and we really want to bring a lot of attention to it and to help the creative industry here get on the scene and to learn why it's important to start this. And for those who don't know what it is, maybe collectors, for them to learn a little more about it. So I'm going to start with the first key point. What is an NFT? Can you guys tell everybody what is an NFT? Nick, I think you're the man for the job.
Uh-oh, I get that job. Oh no, there's so many people who are better qualified. But so look, at its core is it's really just the ability to have some sort of certificate of title, if you like, to a digital asset. So the thing about digital world is it's been wonderful in allowing us to distribute content, once, 10 times, 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times at zero incremental cost. But what we struggled to do is to be able to use digital to distribute value. And so because we haven't been able to make that unique version of the digital content. And so what the NFT technology does is it allows us to say with a particular artwork is we can tag that technically and make it that is the unique or the first version of that particular piece of digital art. And I'll leave it open to others because there's a lot of interpretations of this as well.
I'd like to chime in on that. So NFT stands for non-fungible token. So as opposed to fungible tokens, for example, like the most popular one would be Bitcoin. One Bitcoin is the same as the other Bitcoin. But for an NFT, each one has a unique address to it. There's only one of a kind. And this helps especially with, as Brandie was saying, with digital art as it's being copied, because I can take a screenshot of your digital art. I can even crop out your signature. But with an NFT, there's only one of a kind, and that authenticates your digital art, whether it's a picture or a song or anything in the digital art realm.
So I think one of the bigger jokes that we hear about NFTs nowadays is the idea that how can you own something that I can right click and save? And the idea behind NFTs is not that digital objects can be copied. They can still be copied very easily. But what it does give you is authenticity. It gives you ownership. It gives you a stake to the ownership of this certain product, which allows you to reproduce it in many different ways. For example, creating a piece of digital art, by selling off that NFT, you give the transfer of ownership from yourself as a creator to the buyer. And that allows the buyer to own that piece of digital art and be able to reproduce it if he so desires, or make money off of it, or patent it in different ways, or give different ownership allowances to different people for the use of the NFT. So and that's one of the key elements, I think, of the NFTs. The other key element when it comes to the transfer of digital art, which is the biggest use of NFTs at the moment, I think, on the internet, is showing the price transparency. When you first sell off an NFT to the first buyer, you are able to check the record on the blockchain and see how much you sold it for. So you're able to keep a very transparent record of all of the transactions that have happened over NFTs. And I mean, there are different benefits that come to it, but I think this is a key element to why NFTs are prominent and why they've become so famous at this moment in time.
Why do you all think that people have such a misunderstanding of grasping how NFTs work? I mean, when I think about it, many of you are artists here. Adhlal is an artist, Arthur, Narmeen. Whenever you have an original, one person has the original. Many people can copy and make prints, but there's only going to be one original. For me, I don't understand why the concept of NFTs are so hard to grasp. What do you all think about this?
Well, I think because it's, first of all, it's tech, and because it's like a technical, it's kind of like has its own limitations, and because not everybody can code, not everybody can understand what that actually is, but it's still kind of it's still very important to learn, because as both Nick and Shamsi pointed out, the value distribution, but also you can actually know, or basically with NFT, you can track who owns your artwork now, or who owns it at the moment, because that's a major difference with the physical artworks, that it can be resold and traded, and you can lose a track of that. So with NFTs, that's basically not going to happen.
I think, Brandie, one of the bigger issues with NFTs, or why people have a hard time getting along with NFTs, is the idea that it requires you to first purchase a digital currency, and then you take that forward, and that process from buying one Ether or one Bitcoin, for a lot of people who are not technically proficient, is not an easy one. So in order for you to get into that field, you need to have a minimum level of technical sophistication that allows you to actually jump into it.
I just want to welcome Talal Al-Zaid to the conversation. He had a little bit of a technical issue, but Talal is a local artist. He's known worldwide. Welcome, Talal.
Hi, Brandie. How's it going? How's everyone? Apologies, yeah, some technical challenges, but we're good now. Can everyone hear me? Perfect. So yeah, just to kind of build up on the conversation of what everyone else was saying, I think it's like any other art form really that has happened. If you look at it in the past, take graffiti as an instance. Graffiti, when it first came out in the 70s, or late 70s, it truly was never accepted as an art form. People never understood it. People never even believed in it, and neither did they even, consider it that it would ever actually make it out there. But it took it like a good 3 decades of continuous, progress and etc. and whatnot. And today it's an accepted art form, and it's probably around one of the more contemporary art movements. Globally, worldwide. And I think so, if you look at that and take that as an example, and that may have been maybe the last what art movements that we've experienced in our era, I think the same thing is going to happen with NFTs eventually. If you look at NFTs today, a lot of the people that are on making the artwork don't necessarily, I'm not saying for everyone, but for a good number of them, they may come from a different art background. And then the same, it's not necessarily your average collector that you're familiar with. So I think it's just it's a new art segment for a new audience, really expand.
And Brandie, I would like to also build up on this topic. Like, from my experience as a digital artist, everyone, when you say you're a digital artist and they see your artwork, it's not as respected as the usual art form that we know. So it's I feel like some people still have a problem with NFTs giving value to this kind of form of art. I know eventually it will be accepted, but this is now, we are going through this transition right now. And definitely for me, I'm so happy NFTs exist right now where I can give an actual value for my art, and like people can track this art's done by Narmeen. Because other than that, honestly, like a lot of times, I'm not saying the artists and the people in the art world, but the people like not in the art world, they look down on digital art as if because it's not tangible, and people are having problem with things not being tangible, and they cannot like touch it or buy it or own it or hang it in the house. So I think this is now the transition that's going on in the art world, of the digital art world, and NFTs.
And I think also this this digitization trend, for example, in music, I feel like the same pushback was happening when MP3s came out, and there's like, you can't hold the CD, you can't hold the record, but slowly that is like when people realize that they have to pay for an MP3 or a digital song, just how they need to pay for a physical song. And now, coming back to that, now it's completely normal for people to pay for digital music as it was for physical music. So I think the pushback is going to happen, but given time and seeing the trends and how things have changed over time, I think it's going to be more and more accepted. And as Shamsi was saying, it requires for a person to buy a digital currency to make the transaction of an NFT. Even that over time is becoming easier and easier. Like before, to buy Bitcoin, it used to be extremely hard. It was nerd money. It was like only like a few random people would be able to buy it. But now even my father is asking me, hey, how can I buy Bitcoin? And my sister and so many other people. So and it's also becoming more and more easy. So you can buy digital currencies through PayPal and through Cash App and through all of these different mainstream venues of acquiring these digital currencies. And I think it'll become more and more easy, especially given that Visa and MasterCard are showing interest in this realm as well.
I thought I'd chime in
Yeah.
from a slightly different perspective. So my background's in, as I mentioned earlier, is from the fashion space, but physical fashion. So no, I'm not a digital goods person. But if you look at I think NFT doesn't just apply to digital goods. So, the protocol ERC 271, which is what NFTs are built on. There's also 1152, but that's like semi-fungible. What it really means ultimately is that you have a proof of an item. The item could be physical or digital. But the real interesting use cases will come when there's a link between the physical and the digital. And you're already seeing some of that. Yesterday, StockX announced that they're going to have physical collateral for all their digital items. And the reason why that's so interesting is because the fashion counterfeit industry is a $30 billion industry globally. And if you think about the fact that you're not going to 100% be able to reduce that, but even if you can reduce it by 10%, that's a significant chunk of the industry. And if you think about it from the perspective of creators, so, when Yeezys are dropped with their collaboration, they're sold for 180 pounds or something like that, 200 pounds. But the resale price is about 1,500 pounds. Now, as a creator, I never get access to the secondary market because when they're resold, I don't really see any of that money. It's very difficult from a governance perspective. And I imagine that Nick would be able to tell you more about the complexities of trying to enforce a contract that has, execution standards on the secondary market. But with an NFT or something that is linked with an NFT, like a smart contract, you can enable creators to make revenue and recurring revenue when items are sold and resold. This has huge implications for production. One of the conversations when I was in Riyadh last month was looking at how Riyadh can start producing fashion. There's not a lot of production houses in Riyadh that are manufacturing scale for fashion. And once the industry goes into that direction, then there are a lot of conversations about how do you incentivize factories, creators, brands to take advantage of the resale market in fashion, the physical resale market, which currently is $130 billion, and it's projected to grow to $200 billion next year. So I think the most interesting use cases of NFT, in my opinion, it's just my opinion, is when the physical and digital become one. And I'll just give you one last example, then I'll stop. But I had a conversation with Hermes about 3 months ago. And one of the challenges that they're facing is they don't want anyone on the metaverse and the digital avatar to be able to wear a Birkin bag. They're already so specific about who can wear a Birkin bag. You can see the suing that's going on right now with the Meta Birkin. But one of the things that they want to use to ensure that is, how can we ensure that only the people who own our Hermes bags are the ones that can use the digital version of Hermes on their avatar or whatever. So there's a lot of interesting use cases in NFTs when it comes to linking physical and digital. This is just in fashion, but there are other industries as well.
I would love to hear your thoughts on what Dr. Ahmed said, Nick.
Please just call me Ahmed. The doctor should be
No, Dr. Ahmed, no.
We don't want to be disrespectful.
We're calling you Dr. Ahmed. You got it. So that's very good. Look, I think that's absolutely right. I think I think it's possible to, the purely digital can exist. The linking of the digital and the physical is a fascinating area, and it's problematic because how do you actually link those two things? There's a great example of twinning, as I call it, with Penfolds, which is a big wine brand. And so Penfolds just dropped last night, actually, 300 NFTs of premium wine. And so if your premium wine is a difficult thing to gift, but gifting is in fact the biggest market for premium wine, but it's very difficult to transport wine, and temperature's critical and so forth. And so what they've done is they've dropped NFTs where you can buy a digital NFT, which gives you an entitlement to that bottle of wine, which sits in a storeroom in Singapore, and you can redeem that NFT for that bottle of wine, but you can also gift that. And they've seen, it's their expectation is that'll be a big bonus for their gifting market. I think we saw Selfridges just announce that there will be twinning, where if you with Paco Rabanne collection, and so you buy the Paco Rabanne mini dress, and then you also get a digital version of that as well. So I think this idea of twinning the digital and the physical is interesting. And then if we go to the idea of, I think, for what's happening actually in the purely digital, I think it's critical to look at the communities that the artists create, because I think a lot of the big sales have come, the art is fascinating and very interesting, but a lot of it comes because those artists have great community followings. And so I think that's an interesting area where people are so embracing the artist, and the artist has managed to create a mystique and a community about them. So I think that's a very important part of driving it. And then there's one final thing, which is utility. And I think, if we look at NFTs, they're starting to provide far more utility. So a lot more ticketing happening via NFTs. And then how can the NFT give some sort of privilege to people? So VIP access to clubs like Bored Ape and so forth. So I think there's a whole range of different ways you can promote your artwork and gain a greater audience for it.
Just to build up on what you were saying, Nick, I think you raised up a great point in terms of communities. Looking at the NFT space right now, the biggest NFT projects, let's say, Bored Ape Yacht Club and the CryptoPunks, have been built because they have a very supportive community that's interested in them. So I think generally for artists who are looking to get into the space, a key question here is the purpose. Why are you doing what you're doing? Is it in order to give certain benefits, similar to the Bored Ape Yacht Club access to VIP, or is it to just expand on the artistic field that you want to build on? Looking at the space right now, a lot of the more famous NFTs are the more Twitter type avatars, where you have one key object with 1,000 different variations on it. Personally, when I got into the space, with a project called Pixels by Magical Labs, which is basically a form of algorithmically generated art. So it's a very interesting question. Why do you want to get into this? For a lot of people right now, it's just about creating, let's say, the market for digital art similar to the market that was created for fine art. And I think another key element in the success and rise of NFTs is the ability to have royalty payments, keep coming back to the artist on a regular basis. You can program the smart contract for your NFT in order to give you 5% or 10% or 15% of every single sale your NFT goes through. So other than having all of the transactions recorded in the blockchain for transparency, you are able to keep getting money out of your artwork, no matter how long you keep selling. Now, as in terms of connecting the digital world with the NFTs, I think Nike has also done something similar. I think they had a project called Crypto Kicks, where you have an NFT authenticating the shoes that you buy from Nike. So we are seeing these real life uses right now. But at the same time, I think generally the field is very immature when it comes to connecting the physical world with the digital world. I think the amount of different uses that can come out of this process of authentication is so big, but at the same time, we're still in the very early stages that we haven't even started visualizing what we can do. So I think there's a lot more to come. I think I saw a news report a few days ago about a South Korean politician selling off NFTs to raise campaign funds. So we're still seeing these innovative ideas come in, and we're still not done yet.
Thank you, Mohammed. You raised a lot of great points. It is a very new thing, and it is immature, but it's just getting started. But it's very, very fresh here in the Khalij, in the Middle East, in Saudi. We have such a great opportunity, though, because of this, as creatives, as artists, as designers, as collectors, as lawyers, and people that are interested in it. We have a fresh blank page here, and it's really important, I think, for us to learn. This is the future. If we want to grow, it's very important for us to learn and to grow and get on board with this. So I want to touch another key point. Let's talk about how can brands use NFTs? How are brands using NFTs? You guys seen some brands using NFTs? We all know about Nike, as somebody stated.
I think another example of a brand using NFTs was the NBA. The NBA created something, I believe, called NBA Top Shots, where they sold off, video clips of highlights or highlight reels. So really, it goes back to the brand. I think Ahmed mentioned an example, or was it Nick mentioned an example of the metaverse, creating virtual Birkin bags and selling them off to virtual avatars. I think for us as artists or local brands, maybe it's there's so many things that they can do. It's just about being imaginative and about creating value at the end of the day. So it's the selling of NFTs is easy. It's what value will you be able to give to the buyers?
Absolutely. Not only the value, something that, like you've said about the Board Yacht Club, it's what I've noticed, as you know, I'm on Twitter. Anybody who's into NFTs, I think it's the Twitter community is very strong for the NFTs, blockchain, crypto. It's the place to be. It's all about marketing at the end of the day, marketing and who buys it. And the more buyers, the floor goes hotter. So you have to have a strong marketing team, not only, great art. I mean, some of the things being sold, we can't say is the best art, but it's been amazing marketing.
Another idea is, for example, when we sell artwork in our gallery, what we do is with each piece of art, we have a small card that says Certificate of Authenticity, and it has a physical stamp on it and my signature. Instead of that, your physical artwork can be sold with a Certificate of Authenticity that's an NFT. It could also be a digital high quality scan of that artwork as an NFT. So that's also an option for people in the art realm who want to mix between the physical and the digital.
Yeah, and I think absolutely the authenticity piece is a great idea. If just getting back to the brands issue, if you have a look, so it's a big release a couple of days ago where it's been found that Walmart, the big box retailer out of the US, has a lot of plans for the metaverse, and that's been quite profound because we hadn't seen one of the big retailers go there, but they've there's quite a few announcements about what they're intending to do. But you look at Macy's has been dropping NFTs, Samsung, Apple, BMW, Hyundai, The Gap, Ralph Lauren, Gucci, Tommy Hilfiger, Taco Bell, Burger King, Coca-Cola, and of course the NBA, as was mentioned. So they've all dropped NFTs in the last 3 or 4 months. And what's great, I think, particularly for the digital artist community, is the more that those big brands are embracing NFTs, it takes it away from I think the mystery that most people see as crypto. And it's a lot of what I do when I'm working with traditional organizations, getting them into Web3, is trying to dispel these notions that crypto and the whole sort of metaverse is in some way associated with criminality. And I have actually a session which I give, which is 10 things you can do with crypto that doesn't involve buying drugs on the dark web, because that's where people sort of think about crypto. So I think the more that these big brands embrace NFTs, it's wonderful for the digital arts community. And just the final point on that is, what I'm seeing is that big brands are starting to use NFTs as an adjunct to their customer relationship management solution. So, when you're buying things and so forth, obviously you're being tracked. We recognize that. Well, NFTs give them an even greater ability to understand things. And we've gone a little tired of loyalty cards and things like that. And so what they've found is that there's a seemingly right at the moment insatiable appetite for NFTs, whether they're free, which they are in some cases, Burger King and so forth, gift with purchase, and in other cases, you'll pay for them. So with Nike and Adidas, but what they can do is once they've given you those NFTs, that is another way for them to track users. So I know that's a sort of perhaps a seamy or dark underbelly to the NFT world, but that's the reality. There's a reason why these marketers are embracing this new technology, and it is giving them very good insights into their customer base.
Go ahead, Narmeen.
Okay, so I have because we are always focusing on brands and big brands. Big brands already made it and everything, and they do exist. But for me, I see NFT from a point of view of creative individuals, and I feel like the NFT is going to make us experience a creative and art renaissance, where people, because with NFTs, the middleman, we can cancel the middleman. It can be me and the consumer, and that's it. No galleries, no brands that will dictate how I'll design my chair, my sofa, my whatever. So I feel like we're gonna see another side of creativity, and maybe we'll see new things, because, for example, you have a chair and the design of the chair is the same, because now everything needs to be clean and very clean design and finesse. But now maybe we're gonna go back to avant-garde or another kind of designs. And I feel like this is the power of NFTs, where it's giving power to the individual, also to the brand, but also to the individual.
Absolutely. I want to ask one question, and I want all of you all to answer this. Do you all think NFTs are here to stay, or do you think it's a trend?
Stay, for sure. It's it's a bubble, and it's like we think that the whole market is a bubble, so that never seemed to pop, but so it's definitely going to stay, and we can definitely see that how it's growing and how much potential there is. Like the examples that guys just brought up that I never even heard of, and if we even like talk a little bit about the fashion and how fashion is like jumped quickly on it, and because like then we have the gaming, like how the gaming industry going to be like absorbing this fashion and NFTs and cryptocurrency, and then with the emergence of like augmented reality, imagine what's going to happen next. It's like it's going to be more intruding the physical world as well. So we are looking at like a great potential. So it's a great question that you asked, Brandie, like why designers should be interested and why should designers should use NFT. They definitely should, because and should start early and now, because it's a great opportunity and platform for us to emerge, like really. Thank you.
You know, just to basically whatever else was saying, I think it's you know, just to touch on the few topics that have been mentioned. It's like, you know, when Narmeen, sorry, was saying that, you know, the brands are already established, and so this has become really more of a platform of where a community would come together. You know, if you look at, for example, you know, like the social media, what has happened is, and there was a lot of the artists that were not necessarily represented by galleries or had gallery representation found a way through social media to really make it out there. And I think it was like 3 years back, there was like a conference in Barcelona, if I'm not mistaken, and they were really discussing the future of galleries. What does it mean for galleries today? You know, because the artists in the past, you know, the galleries would basically, work with a selected group of artists, and then they would showcase their artwork, but that would never really give an opportunity for artists that were not showcasing with galleries. Well, social media kind of like broke that. So as an artist, you can reach out a larger audience without having a gallery around you. Now, and similarly, one of the art fairs, I think it was in New York, it was one of the first art fairs globally where what they did is they've created a section where they can invite artists to participate, because, you know, traditionally all the art fairs globally, worldwide, as an artist you cannot participate. It's the galleries that have to participate and then showcase the artist with them. So that was, it kind of broke the norms in that way, but it also, you know, opened up a conversation. So it's a dialogue, it's an ongoing dialogue until today. Some people will, you know, accept it, some people might reject it, but it definitely is a conversation. And I do think, you know, eventually, you know, I don't think anything in the world is ever going to progress if we're going to stick doing the same old thing over and over again the way that it's been done. It just means that there's no way for progress whatsoever. So I'm not sure what the future of NFTs is, but I do believe that it's eventually, it's just something that is being discussed today. But I think if we fast forward 10 years down the line, it's just going to be like, you know, pretty much similar to a lot of like and sorry, I keep coming back from an art angle, simply because as an artist, you know, I've looked into this quite a lot. I don't want to bore everyone. I can talk more about other stuff, but I'll just leave the conversation organically, and then I can touch bases just to make room for everyone else to speak.
So, Ahmed, what do you think is next for NFTs?
That's a good question. I think I sort of already talked a little bit about this. But right now, I think there's a lot of, you know, just like when ICOs started, there was a lot of, you know, pumps and dumps, and similar with NFTs, a lot of speculation about, you know, what's the next big project. And I think if you follow this space closely and, you know, you speak to the people who are in it really deep, you know, whether it's, you know, if you listen to Naval or anyone else, whoever your interest is, I think the advice is the same. It's, you know, if you're going to buy an NFT, buy it to hold it, because there's no guarantee they're going to be able to sell it. So if you're buying to get some massive resale value, you're probably going to be disappointed, because, you know, you don't know what the next big project is going to be, or whether or not the investment is going to make sense. But from a creator's perspective, I think I don't think NFTs, I know they have become very hype now, but these kinds of concepts have existed ever since cryptography has existed. And they've just been more commercially available. Authenticity is, always been something that's very important. You can look at new ideas of authenticity, like unstoppable domains is an interesting thing to look at. Universal identity, where you don't have to have, a separate bank account and a login address, etc. But where I think there's a lot of interest is something that, I've already mentioned and Shamsi also touched on, which is, tracking two things. One, tracking contractual royalties through time, which is incredibly difficult if you're talking about secondary and tertiary resale markets. NFTs combined with smart contracts enable that. And the second thing is, being able to identify the end user. So as brands, most brands don't have access to their secondary market. Only few of the brands control their secondary market. Knowing who's actually who's buying your clothes in the secondary market is actually very interesting and valuable information, which can be enabled through the ability to track an item through its journey, through its life journey. So yeah, that's my thoughts.
So go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I might just chime in too, because I am super bullish on NFTs, and to pick up on what was just said, what we've finally seen with NFTs is really a way of explaining to non-crypto enthusiasts what the blockchain offers. So the blockchain's been around for over 10 years now, and it's been accused of being a solution in search of a problem. And we've had this great technology, and we've been wondering what we could do with it. And cryptocurrency was the first great use case. And now with NFTs, people are starting to see, oh wow, okay, so this is how you can use it. And then ultimately where we move to is, as we talked about before, with the merging of the physical and the digital, using NFTs as a way, shares in companies will be NFTs. I think, NFT recordings of interest in land and so on. So I think that's all coming. So I think that we are at the very start of a massive shift. And I think, I heard before people saying, oh, there's skepticism. There is a lot of skepticism around NFTs and why people are paying so much for NFTs when they're intangibles. But when we think about it, the concept of an NFT is really only in the public mind, almost less than a year old. And if we think about how fast it's moved, it's amazing. So I think it's very positive. I think particularly for the artists and designers, I think this is an important trend, and it's not going away. And what is also driving it is this move to the metaverse. And like it or not, we are headed towards spending more time in immersive virtual worlds, and it will happen sort of slowly at first, and then I think quite fast. And if you look at the key indicators, those folks who are doing a lot of controlling of people's lives are spending a lot of time thinking about and investing in the metaverse. And so if you look at Facebook, they changed their name to Meta to reflect their focus on building out the metaverse. So the entire digital, the digital virtual world that they're hoping people spend a lot of time in. They've got 10,000 developers working on building out their corner of the metaverse. Just yesterday, Microsoft paid $69 billion for the gaming company Activision. And so that's that's yet again another reflection on how important the metaverse is. Nike's got Nike Town built in the metaverse. So places like Decentraland and Roblox and so forth are going to be important. And so we're moving out of pure gaming into other people who aren't gamers will be engaged in the metaverse. And once you get into the metaverse, then the whole idea of the fact that it's an NFT is not a tangible artwork or a tangible piece of design becomes completely irrelevant, because you are living or you're spending time in that virtual world. So I think the opportunities there are remarkable. As I said, I think a critical part of for any artist is building up that following. And it was mentioned before that Twitter is obviously a space for it. But if the more that you can build up a reputation amongst particularly the crypto community, then that seems to attract a great deal of interest when those NFTs drop.
I'd like to chime in with the bubble that was mentioned. I definitely think NFTs are here to stay, but I don't think we're going to have JPEGs of rocks go for millions of dollars for a very long time. I think that's kind of like the initial hype and the bubble aspect of it. And just like the dot-com bubble, where it expands and expands and then it pops and then washes out all of the trash. I think we might see that definitely with NFTs, or we're already seeing it with a lot of things that people are realizing that doesn't really have much value. Those will kind of sink to the bottom, and the ones with real value and utility will start coming up to the top. So I definitely, to answer your question, Brandie, I definitely think they're here to stay. It's a technology that can be used in so many different ways, and this panel just mentioned a few, and there's so many more ways, and I'm sure in the future there's going to be many different ways where we can use this kind of technology.
Just to kind of build on top of what Nick and Raif were talking about, I think one of the most important things that people haven't really realized about NFTs right now are, I think, as Raif mentioned, we're still in the very, very beginning of this whole transformation. Similar to the internet back when before web browsers became a thing, where people were still talking in groups or threads. I forget the name. Or similar to how the internet was when AOL was all the rage. I still think we have a different wave to come to. Even if we look back at, let's say, the crypto scene 10 years ago, Bitcoin was a thing that people didn't really know what to do with before the deep web, appeared. So right now, the rocks are not going to be the end all to all. I think the big transformation is going to happen in two ways. One, when we figure out how to tie NFTs into real physical world objects and have that become a mainstream standardized process. When I am able to every day figure out a way to tag a physical item and put it on the blockchain for it to actually be seen, bridging that gap between the two, I think that's going to be one of the more transformational moments. And I think a second key part for NFTs is similar to the problem that the tech world has with the physical world. The tech world moves way too fast for the laws of the real world to catch up. There are always things happening in the tech world on a time span of 18 months or 2 years, and it takes policymakers and lawmakers usually years to catch up. So when smart contracts become a thing that is legally recognized in countries on ground, that's when NFTs are going to explode beyond all recognition. Because at that point in time, a smart contract NFT is going to be as legally enforceable as a regular contract that you sign in reality. And when you are able to take your ownership of digital assets and be able to transfer them and have that legally recognized by your own country or the world at all, that is really when the digital and real world will merge, and it's going to become unrecognizable.
Absolutely. So we have 5 minutes left. So I'm going to ask one more question. And this is the main question why everybody is watching. Everybody in the creative industry wants to know, how do they get started in the NFT business and how do they market themselves? This is what everybody wants to know. We're going to open up the floor and then we'll talk about this for 5 minutes because this is what everybody's curious about. All the artists want to know, how did they get started in NFTs? All the designers want to know, photographers, everybody wants to know, how are they getting started in this business? Because they want to get started. It's the hot topic. And then the last 15 minutes, I'm going to open it up with all the question and answers. We've got quite a bit. So
all right, I guess I'll start. So first, I don't think you should make NFTs on Ethereum. One, because the gas fees are just insane. And for the regular person, like, I don't think that's a very accessible way to start with NFTs. But if you do want to connect to the most popular NFT marketplace, which is OpenSea, I'd prefer that Polygon was used, Matic. It's a layer 2 solution and it's much faster, cheaper fees. So that's one option. The other option is to use the other more energy efficient green blockchains that are offering NFT solutions such as Solana. Solana, I feel like, is a very popular option nowadays because, first of all, it's gaining a lot of recognition from some really big people. Like, for example, Melania Trump has her NFTs on Solana, and many other famous people are using the Solana blockchain. You have Cardano, which is another blockchain that's being used for NFTs, and Tezos, XTZ is the ticker for that one. And Tezos is being used by also couple of popular names like Doja Cat. So those are my recommendations. My first recommendations is don't make an NFT on Ethereum. I feel like it's just a really heavily congested blockchain, and just the fees are way too high. But if you, so Matic, Solana, Cardano, and Tezos. And if you want to get more obscure, maybe you can go into Harmony One, which is also a really fast, energy efficient blockchain. So those are my recommendations where to start.
I would agree with you, Raif, on not using Ether. I personally have all my NFTs on Solana. It's much cheaper. It's easier to use, and I feel like the field on Solana is going to expand beyond what it is going to be on Ether. For local artists, I think there are two, from what I know, from as far as I'm aware, there are two local platforms that deal with NFTs. One of them is called Atrum, that's ATRUM.SA on Instagram. It's a new platform that sells contemporary art, offers NFTs, hosts auctions. I'm not sure if they're fully launched yet, but their Instagram account has been up for a while. Another one is called Nuqta NFT. That's NUQTAH NFT. Also on Instagram. I believe they'll be launching on Saturday, if I'm mistaken, the 22nd of Jan. So for local designers or local, art enthusiasts, I think these are two good starting points to jump into the NFT market if you lack the technical, background or expertise to go to, an OpenSea or Wearable or any of the other NFT platforms. Personally, the ones I use are Digital Eyes and Magic Eden, which both run on the Solana platform.
I totally agree with Shamsi. Because now we're having a lot of this NFT platforms in the Middle East opening up. That way, you're gonna be in a community. It's very young, and when you get in a community, a young community at that, it's gonna be easier for you to get the exposure that you need to be known as an NFT artist. And I'm also joining with Nifty Su, and they already launched in beta phase, and I can see from my other artist friend on Nifty Su, they're already selling their stuff and it's already working. So I think now is the time to get into this young market in Middle East, and I think it's just gonna go uphill from there.
Okay, just one last thing. Nick and Ahmed, I would love to know your thoughts on what you think creatives can get into the NFT industry.
Sorry, was that question, how can creatives get into the NFT industry?
What is your advice? I would love to have both of your advice on how creatives can get started in this industry of NFTs.
Yeah, so I mean, my thoughts, having sort of worked with one specific sort of artistic NFT project, was it's not something to jump into quickly. And I've had a number of people say to me, "Oh, I'm dropping my my first NFT," but without really understanding what it's all about. So I'm speaking to the digital artist on this project. His view was, before you do anything in relation to dropping an NFT, you should spend at least 50 hours researching to see what is selling and why it's selling, because I think that people see the digital art that sells, and as was mentioned before, digital rocks and so forth, and obviously crypto punks and things like that. There's not a lot, you would look at that and say, okay, there's not necessarily a lot of time or effort went into those necessarily, and so therefore it's easy to sell digital art. Well, that's not the case, because I think, and this is based on the work that we've done in the artistic space, is that really NFT artwork is, I think, I mean, it's a bit controversial, but I think it's 80% marketing and it's 20%, skill and artistic merit. But I think it's that marketing side of things. So I think if you do want to be successful right at the moment, things may change. But if you want to be successful in the NFT art space, then I think it's about understanding the market and engaging with that community right at the moment. Because I think the successful ones really are followed by the community and create a community around themselves and partake in the community. So in some respects, digital art in the NFT space is almost more about who you are as an artist and a community member, and then obviously your artwork will reflect your ethos. But I think that aspect of engaging with the community and understanding the community, being part of it, is critical to success.
I don't know if I can add anything on a technical level that hasn't already been said, like regarding layer 2s and lower gas fees. But ultimately, when you're trying to differentiate yourself in any space, ultimately, I think what differentiates one brand or one NFT from another, in my opinion, is the story. Like, what is the story that you're trying to tell? And if the story is compelling and it seems authentic and genuine, then you can build a community around it. But yeah, from my personal perspective, I think the physical digital space for NFTs is underexploited. So if you're in the fashion space and you're making physical garments, getting into the NFT space and coupling them in a way would be, I think, new and compelling and would tell a good story. So that's my perspective.
Thanks, everybody. I'm going to open up the floor for the questions. I've dropped the first one in there. We have quite a bit, so I'll just let whoever wants to answer that one go for it. So the first one is, do you think the NFT industry should be regulated? If so, which part of it?
I don't think it can be regulated, to be quite honest, considering that it's a global market that spans different borders and different peoples in different places. I think for the longest time, the internet was regulated because of the laws that were set in the US back in 1996 with the Communications Act. Nowadays, I think things are moving way too fast for one single entity to be able to control such a large market. And especially when you think about NFTs being mostly supported by crypto or cryptography enthusiasts. So, it kind of goes against their core ethos.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think it's incredibly hard to regulate it, but I think that the issue will be that governments around the world are seeing what's happening with crypto, and it's concerning them because they're losing a lot of tax opportunities, which is critically important for sovereign states. So I think that we will see a wave of crypto-based regulation over the next couple of years, and tokenization of everything, and NFTs is just a form of tokenization. I think that's going to be, they're going to attempt to regulate it, and so how that happens will be difficult. But I think really what will be driving it is more from the tax point of view, which is how can the tax authorities in each of the countries get access to the gains that are being made by people in the crypto space and the NFT space.
Okay, so let's go to the second question. Is there a dark side of NFT since everything has positive and negative aspects?
Well, one dark side that I heard about is that some of these NFTs are being like the floor price of an NFT is being artificially lifted. So an individual could mint an NFT and then buy that NFT for a higher price and then sell it. And basically he can increase the floor price for it artificially. That's one dark side that I've only heard of, but I haven't really looked into too much if that's even like happening often. The other side the dark side of the NFTs is people say that it's being used for money laundering. And yeah, that's the only two dark sides that I've heard of so far.
Okay, the third one, how do you think the digital art market will be impacted when gallerists try to capitalize on NFTs and act as gatekeepers to the market?
I think galleries have already started to do that, but with Christie's, for example, selling Beeple's artwork for 69 million. But at the same time, I think one of the biggest benefits of the NFTs is getting rid of that intermediary. Of course, galleries do have plenty of benefits for the artists, such as creating connections and you know, putting them out there in the sense of exposure, quote unquote. But at the same time, the power of NFTs is letting go of these intermediaries. It's being able to talk directly to the customers, to the buyers, and not having to rely on any exchanges. Even for the artists who, let's say, create their own mints from their own maps or websites. I think there's an artist called P-A-K, who did a mint that ended up selling almost $91 million worth of NFTs. So it's being able to have that direct connection that is the most empowering thing. Obviously, this is a huge threat to galleries all over the world because it's a direct cut from their cake. But at the same time, that's how the world is moving. It's moving towards a more connected scene where you can cut out the middleman and just do whatever you need to do on your
own. Next one.
What?
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Just in fact, just before this session, I was on an NFT panel which was talking about how museums, art museums, are not getting into the NFT craze. And what came up out of that, and I say this because there just may be an opportunity for some artists who are listening here, but what's happening right at the moment with museums, there's a couple of museums that have sort of got involved in the NFT space. So the British Museum is making available one of its artworks, which is the Japanese artist Hokusai's The Wave. So that's the tsunami wave, which I think we're probably all familiar with. So they're making that available as an NFT. And then the Institute of Contemporary Art in Miami is the first, that they say, the first major art museum to exhibit an NFT, and they've got a CryptoPunk NFT that they're exhibiting there. But and the Hermitage in St. Petersburg, they released just four limited edition NFTs of their artworks, which were signed by the director of the Hermitage. So they're very limited. And what's clear is they don't know what to do with their artworks. And I think there's an opportunity there because they've obviously got a lot of artworks there, and I think there's I don't feel like there's a big interest in people owning necessarily an NFT of a particular, physical artwork, just because I think, but there may be an opportunity for people to go to these museums and in some way work together with their existing pieces and bring those pieces alive in the digital world. And how that works, I don't know, but right at the moment, there doesn't seem to be a massive market for NFTs of traditional artwork, just selling them. And so how can digital artists make those traditional artworks come alive and give them a different aspect, whether it's mashup or however that's done in the digital world. So I just mentioned that, I'm obviously not an artist, but it was certainly a problem that the museums were facing as to how to embrace the NFT world. So they may well be open to enterprising propositions put forward to them.
I would like for our three artists in the room to touch on that. How do you feel about it? Adhlal?
Not good.
Not sure who,
Not good by the sounds of it.
I'm not sure who you meant by who from the artist you started, but anyways, I think one thing we need to agree on and understand is that NFTs does not mean that it's replacing any other art market at this stage. It's just an addition, just like similarly to all the other like like art movements that have happened in the past. You still look at what's happening today. You have paintings that are 100+ years old that are still being sold for the highest prices to date, and nothing really is coming even near those prices. But the point is, we need to understand that that's just an addition. It's not replacing anything else. And that said, it's gonna have its own audience. It's gonna have its own market. It's similar to the immersive experiences. If you've seen them, the ones they've done with like the Van Gogh collection, as an example. If you really look into the audience that's attending those immersive experiences, it's not your core artistic audience. It's not the art enthusiast. It's really more of a general public that's attending those events. And because it's really emerged between art and entertainment at this stage. So it's talking to a new audience, it's being introduced to a new audience, etc. So I think NFTs might possibly, just be another, addition to the art world, but then, who its audience is and who the artists that, contribute to that particular platform, that's just going to be an addition, really. It's not going to replace anything else or just like eliminate anything else.
Like exactly what I was saying before,
Yeah.
This is exactly the point. It's just extension of the creativity and the creativity capabilities that we're going to have. And I think we're going to see new things and other things going to be like more valuable and just like more creativity. So I'm up for that anytime.
What do you think about it, Arthur?
Yes, I'm thinking like, but if we're talking about like democratization, like of democratized art and becoming a little bit more available and expanded, like so for example, if we can talk about the online galleries offering like virtual exhibition space with the 3D platforms and giving space to power like underrepresented artists and new communities so I think definitely there is a potential for like we're saying, like of a new platform that can or cannot take over or already existing like monopolies of museums and so yeah, we can speculate on that quite a while, but it's a good question for sure.
I think that's already happening, right? We talked about cutting out the middleman, but we have new middlemen coming into play, right? OpenSea is a middleman. They take 2.5%, and they recently delisted all of Meta Birkin's bags because they're like, oh, we don't want to get entrapped in this legal suit that Hermes is doing against this NFT design. I think the Rothschild guy. And I think, what we see with big tech, the way they democratize the media, anyone can say what they want. There's still some form of, unwritten regulation around that. There's still a lot of filtering. I think there's no guarantee that kind of filtering won't continue with the new middlemen that appear in the form of OpenSea and other platforms.
Thank you.
I mean, at least the benefit with that, Ahmed, if you don't mind, Brandie, is the fact that OpenSea is going to take 2.5% rather than the 40 or 50% that regular galleries charge their artists. Correct me if I'm wrong, artists here. So it's the fact that, and not just that, it's that the royalty aspect as well. The fact that you can still keep getting paid 10 years, 15 years down the line if your artwork is famous enough and keeps changing hands.
We take 30%.
And by the way, there's like something in arts that I think a lot of people are not aware of. Even as a living artist, even if your artwork is sold in the secondary market, you technically still get paid for it in some of the countries. It's as per like the policies, but I just think people are not familiar with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think like I'm completely on the same page in terms of understanding the benefits of low commission fees. But on the flip side, you still have to spend an equivalent amount of marketing dollars trying to get your product to market, trying to get it to the actual buyer. Whereas, I think Chris Sotheby's maybe charges, I think 13%. And but they're going to find you the buyer. They're going to locate. You don't need to do the marketing. The marketing is done implicitly. Whereas with the NFT, you're going to spend a lot of dollars on whatever ads you might have to spend. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud here, but I would be interested to see the economics of what the overall marketing spend is, especially now where the ads like Facebook ads are actually quite expensive, and what the overall cost is in terms of percentage of your value.
Sorry, everybody, I had a glitch and had to restart. Did you answer 4 or did I miss it?
No, I don't think 4 was answered yet.
Okay, sorry, I was gone for about 30 seconds. So the 4th one, Ahmed, I wanted you to answer this one. How does the metaverse advancements affect the NFT world?
Okay, I think a lot of people touched on this in some form. Again, first of all, what is the metaverse, right? There's a lot of discussion around that. Actually, I wrote an article recently for WWD about what the metaverse is, but that's just my opinion. I think in general, when we're talking about a space where, you have digital currency, where your digital form becomes arguably more important than your physical form. I mean, in this world, then, all the things that matter for you in this world, which is who you are as a person, what you wear, fashion ultimately, or what you own, what you do, is a form of your identity. If your digital identity becomes more important, then the things you own in your digital identity naturally become more important. And as a result, I think someone bought their first digital real estate recently. So there's a lot of interest in how can you capitalize on digital goods. So there's that concept of what is the metaverse. But equally, I think that now with brands becoming more aware of, okay, maybe the digital space is going to become a bigger deal. The role of NFTs, I think, will go away from just being something that's used for, a limited drop to becoming more ubiquitous, where they're being used to track everything. One of the things that we've been discussing internally is how can we use NFTs as a way to track goods through customs, because a lot of certain types of cotton are banned in certain countries, and if you can identify through NFC and NFT links. So every item has an NFC tag, which is linked with an NFT that contains all the information about where you sourced the cotton from, where it was stitched, etc. When it reaches the customs of the European Union or UK or whatever, instead of having to inspect it, you can immediately just scan it and see, right, does this violate any regulations? So there's loads of physical and digital use cases of the NFT, and I think once that becomes more ubiquitous, NFTs use case will go away from just being, like I said, limited drop and digital art to more interesting use cases, both in the physical and the digital world.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to ask one more question. And as this question's answered, I would love for all of our panelists to drop any links for any resources that you may have for our attendees, for finding out information, for articles that you all have written, for Twitter handles, any resource that you think would be great for the audience, drop it. At the end, we're going to upload this video. We're going to transcribe the video, and we're going to put it into Arabic too for Arabic speakers so that they can read everything as well. We're going to have there's a lot of questions we haven't been able to answer because we've run out of time. It's been a rich topic, but we're going to make sure to get all the questions answered. So we'll make sure and get all of the great quotes that everybody's put in. So it's all going to be available for everybody afterwards. So please drop all resources, panelists, in the chat for everybody to be able to take home and to study and to read up on these topics. So the last question: what is the most important utility an NFT collection can provide for its holders?
I think it goes back to a sense of connection to a community. Right now, looking at the biggest NFT projects, all of them are built around creating a community that everybody can discuss and share, whether it's the CryptoPunks, whether it's the Board 8 Yacht Club, or other ones. So I think right now that's the most important utility, but definitely that is likely to change in the future.
Yeah, I agree. I think that what is it about the NFT collection that that gives the holder some sense of community, and whether that is that they have certain privileges that other people don't, that it's like a club, or it just reflects who they are as an individual. And we'll start to see this more with digital flexing and people putting the NFTs that they bought up as their profile pics and so forth. So yeah, I think community, I agree, is critical.
Does anybody else have any last words of wisdom or anything they want to say?
Ride the wave.
Don't jump in expecting to make money. Jump in if you're enjoying the art.
Okay, thank you all so much. Like I said, we will be uploading this to our social media, and we'll make sure to drop all the quotes and to get all of our panelists' information. You can click on their name to read about their bio. I'm going to be adding their bios, their pictures, links to their Instagram, LinkedIn, website, everything, so you can follow all of them. Thank you all for your time. I know it's a valuable asset and we really appreciate it. And you guys all added so much to this panel, and I'm already thinking about the next one, Metaverse. Thank you all so much and have a fantastic night. Nick, we're sorry that Nick is tuning in from Australia. It's the middle of the night. Thank you so much for staying up all night for us. I appreciate all of you, and thank you for all of our attendees. And I hope everybody has a fantastic night and good luck in the NFT world. And please, if you have any questions, email us and we'll make sure to get them answered. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Hi, everyone.